Hi guys, Chris here, back with another video. So today's video I'm going to talk about salt and can you have salt on a vegan diet. First of all though guys, I'm just going to show you my tea, which I've got here. So guys, this is my tea here, as you can see, absolutely gorgeous. So I have here guys, Uncle Ben's spicy Mexican rice with green peas, sweet corn, cherry tomatoes, and I've got red wine vinegar and salt on there as well. And that's my tea guys. Morning guys. So when I was eating my tea last night, I was watching an episode of Dr. McDougall's Cardiologist Acting Criminally, which you can watch up around here somewhere, and I kind of got a bit carried away, watched the full hour of it and didn't get around to finishing the video, so here we are. So it's now morning, if you're wondering why it's changed. So guys, can you add salt on a vegan diet? Quick answer, yes for the majority of you, no for some of you. So for those of you who shouldn't add salt to your diet, people with, a high risk of stroke, heart attack, someone who is suffering from hypertension, someone who has, let's say, extreme, kidney damage, or someone with some kind of medical condition where a doctor has specifically advised you not to add salt to your diet. Now then, I personally have salt in my food. I know a lot of vegans out there are against it, and here are my reasons why I don't have a problem with salt. So when you look at people who are not vegan, it's the average person essentially, they average about 2,500 to 3,000 milligrams of sodium a day. That will be through animal products, which like pork from bacon, for example, which are very salty, processed junk food, which has a lot of salt in as well. And the average person, they do have quite high sodium intake because of all of this junk food. And if you're someone who goes on a whole food plant-based vegan diet, which is what I advocate, and you don't add any salt, your sodium intake will actually be about 200 milligrams roughly. If you weigh and record your food religiously, like I do, because I have to, because I have diabetes, what you'll see is that your sodium will be very low if you don't add any salt. You'll see around 200 to 300 milligrams. And I have no problem with adding salt, because when you add salt to your food, it's not going to raise it that much. Even if you add salt to your food, you might see it go up to 1,000 or 1,500 milligrams, and that level of sodium intake is less than what they recommend for people on low sodium diets in hospitals. So when you have people at high risk of heart attack, who've just had a heart attack in hospital, they can put them on these low sodium diets, and even then the sodium can still be around the 2,000 to 1,500 milligram range, because they're obviously feeding them a lot of processed foods, not whole food plant-based. And as a vegan, if you're someone who's coming from a non-vegan background to a whole food plant-based vegan diet, but even with adding salt to your food, the net intake, or the net result, is that you're still going to be in a position where you're consuming less salt, less sodium than what you were doing. So the average person, like I said, 2,500 to 3,000 milligrams. You come to a plant-based diet, you're looking at 200 to 300, add a bit of salt, you might be around 1,000, 1,500, and it isn't really an issue. Now then, I add quite a bit of salt to my food. I have salt on every single meal, other than if it's, say, a fruit-based meal or porridge. So I add salt to my breakfast, I add salt to my dinner, I add salt to my tea, and I have no problem. So last time I got my blood test results were done was the 20th or 21st of May, which I did a video on, which you can watch around here, and my blood sodium levels were 137 in that video, so 137 millimoles, and the reference range is 136 to 144, I think, if memory serves correct. So as you can see, I'm at the low end of the spectrum there, despite adding salt to my whole food plant-based vegan diet. Now then, you're probably thinking, well, that could just be a fluke. Well, I did my blood test results, I got my blood test done in August last year, and my sodium levels were 139 millimoles. So as you can see, it's not a fluke. My sodium levels are consistently towards the lower range. In addition to that, my blood pressure is consistently around the 120 to 180 range, and last time I did it was 118 over 74, which is pretty good. So as you can see, you know, even though I add salt to my food, it doesn't give me any problems. You know, my blood pressure's fine, and my sodium levels, you know, on 2 blood test results over, you know, a wide period of time, they were fine. And I think the important thing to realise is that, you know, sodium is important. That's why they test you for it. You know, it is an electrolyte. It's something that our bodies need. You know, when I go out cycling, I can produce so much salt, so much sweat, and I can come home and I can take my cycling jersey off and it'll be covered in, you know, in salt. When I first started cycling, and I kind of noticed it when I was doing these long hard rides, I'd come home and my forehead would be covered in this white stuff and I didn't have a clue what it was, and I kind of went like that, and and then realised it was just pure salt. And, you know, if you're doing a lot of exercise and you're expending a lot of, you know, salt, essentially a lot of sodium, then you're going to need to replace that. I remember when I did a 105-mile bike ride last year for charity, and about 87 miles in, I started, you know, cramping up. My calves, you know, weren't contracting properly, then they were cramping. It's causing problems. I had people behind me, and I panicked and slammed the brakes on. I had loads of people behind me, and they nearly caused an accident because it was so unexpected. And why was it? It's just low sodium. So basically, I don't believe in low sodium diets, guys. Or let me rephrase that. I don't believe that you have to not have salt in your diet. I don't believe that, you know, you can't add it and be healthy. Of course, though, if you are someone with, you know, heart disease, you've just had a heart attack, you've got extreme hypertension, you're someone who's got, you know, kidney damage, or another medical condition where you need to go low sodium, or a doctor has specifically said go no salt, then obviously do not have it. But if you're just a relatively normal average person watching this, you know, who doesn't have any of those problems, and you want to come to a vegan diet, and you want to add salt, add some salt, you'll be fine. You know, the reason why people get heart disease, cancer and diabetes in droves, it isn't because of, you know, sodium. It isn't because they're sprinkling a little bit of salt on the food. It's because of the animal products, the meat, fish, chicken, eggs, milk and dairy. Yes, the salt, excess sodium can play a role in that because it can increase your blood pressure. Too much salt in the blood means that your body has to retain more water, that it becomes more volume heavy, and as a result the pressure goes up. So in those situations, yes, salt can be, you know, detrimental when you have it, or have it in large amounts, but it's ultimately the animal products and processed junk food which are causing those problems. You know, you can have a healthy whole food plant-based vegan diet, add a little bit of salt and still be healthy. You know, and if you look at Dr. John McDougall, he says, you know, have a little bit of salt in your food, and he has an article which I will link in the description of this video for you to go and read if you want to. If I forget to put it on, just remind me. And he talks about the actual importance of salt in your diet, and how low salt diets, low sodium diets can actually be detrimental. There is research out there showing that it can cause problems for people when they go too low. So I think that's something worth, you know, bearing in mind. And, you know, the main thing to sort of kind of consider is that, you know, when people are coming from, you know, a non-vegan diet to a vegan diet, you know, it's not necessarily easy. When I went vegan in November 2014, you know, I went low sodium as well, low salt, and, you know, the food, you know, it was alright, but it was never as enjoyable. And when I started adding salt into my food again, I think it's Dr. McDougall, I was watching his videos last year, around May last year, and after watching his videos I decided to start using salt, and it made my food much more enjoyable. It definitely brings out the texture, the flavour of the food, definitely adds to it, and it makes my food much more enjoyable and much more pleasurable for me to eat. And I think we need to be mindful of that, you know, for people who come into our, you know, a vegan lifestyle. You know, the important thing is that they eat the food. You know, if the food doesn't taste good, they're not going to eat it. They're going to go back to dead animals and processed junk food. So we need to make the food enjoyable, and if sprinkling a little bit of salt onto food, helps someone eat it and enjoy it, so be it. Of course, unless they have an extreme and immediate medical condition or issue, which means they can't do, and they've been advised not to. So I hope this has been useful, guys. Share with me your experience of salt. Did you try going low salt, no salt? Did you have any problems from it? Did you find it less enjoyable? How did you feel when you started adding salt back into your diet? If you did be interested to hear your experiences. Let me know your opinions. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm right? Check out Dr. McDougall's articles. There's a couple which I'll try and link for you down below. Let me know what you think. And until next time, God bless as always. And remember, you always go high carb, low fat, low protein, high fiber, whole food plant-based vegan. Tried to do that too fast, didn't I? Bye-bye, guys. Hi guys, Chris here, back with another video. So today's video I'm going to talk about salt and can you have salt on a vegan diet. First of all though guys, I'm just going to show you my tea, which I've got here. So guys, this is my tea here, as you can see, absolutely gorgeous. So I have here guys, Uncle Ben's spicy Mexican rice with green peas, sweet corn, cherry tomatoes. Now then, I personally have salt on my food. I know a lot of vegans out there are against it, and here are my reasons why I don't have a problem with salt. So when you look at people who are not vegan, it's the average person essentially, they average about 2,500 to 3,000 milligrams of sodium a day. That will be through animal product on a vegan diet. Quick answer, yes for the majority of you, no for some of you. So for those of you who shouldn't add salt to your diet, people with a high risk of stroke, heart attack, someone who is suffering from hypertension, someone who has, let's say, extreme kidney damage, or someone with some kind of medical condition where a doctor has specifically advised you not to add salt to your diet. Products which like pork from bacon, for example, which are very salty, processed junk food which has a lot of salt in as well, and the average person, they do have quite high sodium intake because of all of this junk food. And if you're someone who goes on a whole food plant-based vegan diet, which is what I advocate, and you don't add any salt, and I've got red wine vinegar and salt on there as well, and that's my tea, guys. Morning guys. So when I was eating my tea last night, I was watching an episode of Dr. McDougall's Cardiologist Acting Criminally, which you can watch up around here somewhere, and I kind of got a bit carried away, watched the full hour of it and didn't get around to finishing the video, so here we are. So it's now morning if you're wondering why it's changed. So guys, can you add salt